Why do the smartest people you know seem to carry a quiet weight, as if they're standing just outside the circle of the world's chatter? They're not cold, not arrogant, but there's a depth in their eyes that feels untouchable, like a star you can see but never reach. You've noticed it, haven't you? That one friend, colleague, or stranger who listens intently but speaks sparingly, who seems to vanish into their own world when the room gets too loud. What's pulling them away? Why do the brightest minds often choose solitude over the crowd's embrace? Here's a truth that might sting. The smarter you are, the more alone you might feel. Not because you're broken, but because your mind works like a filter, sifting through the noise of small talk, fake smiles, and endless social games. Where others see connection, you see performance. Where others find comfort in the crowd, you feel a tug towards something deeper, something only found in silence. This isn't loneliness. It's a choice, a rebellion against a world that demands you play a role you don't believe in. But why? Why does brilliance so often come with this quiet ache? Carl Jung, a pioneer of the human psyche, had a name for this journey: individuation. It's the path to becoming your truest self, stripped of society's expectations. For those with sharp minds, solitude isn't an escape, it's a sanctuary. It's where they untangle the chaos of the world and find clarity. But here's the question that burns. What makes solitude so vital for the intelligent? Why do they trade the warmth of connection for the cold clarity of being alone? And what does it cost them to walk this path? You've felt it too, haven't you? That moment when you're surrounded by people yet your mind drifts to a place no one else can follow. Maybe you've been called distant, aloof, or hard to read. Maybe you've wondered if you're the only one who feels this way. The truth is, this solitude isn't a flaw, it's a superpower. It's the key to unlocking a version of yourself the world can't touch. But to understand why, we need to dig deeper, to uncover the hidden forces that drive this choice and the price it demands. Are you ready to see what lies beneath? You've seen them, haven't you? The ones who seem to float above the fray, their minds sharp but their presence distant, like a lighthouse cutting through the fog of a crowded room. Society slaps labels on them: cold, arrogant, antisocial, because they don't play by the rules of constant chatter and shallow smiles. But here's the hidden problem. Those labels miss the mark entirely. These brilliant minds aren't pushing you away. They're protecting something pursues a clarity most never find. So, why do they choose solitude when the world begs them to blend in? What's driving this quiet rebellion? The answer lies in a psychological truth that Carl Jung uncovered. The smarter you are, the more you see through the masks people wear. Jung called this psychological consciousness, the ability to spot the hidden motives behind every word, every gesture. You notice the colleague who flatters to climb the ladder, the friend whose compliments hide insecurity, the loved one whose affection comes with strings attached. It's like having X-ray vision for human behavior, seeing the gears turning beneath the surface. But this gift comes with a catch. The more you see, the harder it is to stay in the game. Take Alex, a 29-year-old software engineer who always felt like an outsider. At team meetings, he'd analyze every word, catching the unspoken tensions in his boss's tone or the subtle power plays in a coworker's pitch. While others laughed over coffee, Alex felt drained, not by the people but by the performance. He wasn't rude, he was exhausted. The constant need to nod, smile, and play along clashed with his craving for something real. So, he started retreating, spending evenings coding alone or reading Jung, finding solace in ideas that matched his inner world. In those quiet moments, he wasn't lonely, he was alive. Jung explained this through individuation, the journey to become your true self, free from society's script. For intelligent minds, solitude isn't just a preference, it's a necessity. Your mind is like a filter, sifting through the noise of social expectations to find the signal your own truth. But society doesn't make it easy. It rewards conformity, demanding you laugh at the right jokes, post the right updates, fit the mold. When you don't, you're misjudged, labeled as distant or aloof. The real issue? The world expects you to dim your light to match its frequency, but your mind hums at a different pitch. This tension has roots deeper than you might think. Jung's concept of the collective unconscious shows how most people operate on shared pattern scripts of behavior that feel safe but often lack depth. Intelligent minds, however, see beyond these scripts. They spot the fear behind a forced smile, the need for validation in a loud laugh. This awareness creates a divide, not because they want to be alone, but because staying true to themselves demands it. So, what happens when you see the world this clearly? What's the cost of knowing too much? The answer is both heavy and liberating, and it's waiting just beneath the surface. You're in a room full of people, but it feels like you're on the outside looking in. Their laughter echoes, their stories blend into a hum, yet your mind is elsewhere, dissecting the scene like a scientist studying a specimen. You see the unspoken motives, the masks, the invisible strings pulling every smile. This is the unseen consequence of a brilliant mind. The more you understand the world, the more you feel like a stranger in it. But why does seeing so clearly leave you so alone? And what does this clarity cost you? This isn't just a fleeting feeling, it's a psychological weight that intelligent minds carry quietly. Carl Jung called it the burden of psychological consciousness, the ability to see through the surface of human behavior to the currents beneath. You notice the friend who agrees to please, not to connect. You catch the colleague whose ambition hides behind camaraderie. You see love that's less about you and more about someone else's needs. It's like standing on a stage where everyone else believes the play is real life, while you see the script, the props, the carefully rehearsed lines. This clarity is a gift, but it's also a silent trap. Consider Maya, a 35-year-old writer who always felt like she was living in two worlds. At social gatherings, she'd smile and nod, but inside, her mind was racing, analyzing every word, every glance, every hidden agenda. She wasn't bored, she was overwhelmed. The constant effort to translate her complex thoughts into small talk felt like squeezing an ocean into a teacup. Over time, she noticed a growing aconite loneliness, but the exhaustion of being mentally alone in a crowd. She craved depth, but found it rarely. So she turned to solitude, where her thoughts could flow freely, like a river unbound by banks. Jung's idea of the collective unconscious explains why this happens. Most people follow shared pattern scripts of behavior that feel safe and familiar. But when your mind breaks free, seeing the world through a lens of logic, patterns, and hidden truths, you step outside those scripts. This creates what psychologists call cognitive isolation, the loneliness of thinking differently. You're not just physically present, you're mentally distant, analyzing when others are simply feeling. The consequence? You either play the social game, dimming your inner light, or you retreat, risking judgment for being too serious or too deep. Either way, there's a cost. This isolation isn't just personal, it shapes how you move through the world. You might hold back in conversations. Knowing your truths make others uneasy. You might feel drained by relationships that demand more performance than authenticity. The world pushes you to conform, but your mind resists, craving space to think, to be. So, what happens when you live in this tension? How do you escape the trap of seeing too much? The answer lies in a rebellion, a bold choice that redefines solitude itself. Are you ready to break free? What if the loneliness you feel isn't a prison, but a key? You've been told it's a flaw, a sign you're too different, too deep, too much. But what if that solitude is your rebellion, a bold refusal to dim your light for a world that craves conformity? The smartest minds don't retreat from connection out of fear. They step back to protect something sacred, their true self. This is the turning point, the moment you stop apologizing for your depth and start embracing it. So, how do you break free from the trap of cognitive isolation? How do you turn solitude into a superpower? Carl Jung saw this rebellion as the heart of individuation, the journey to become who you are, not who the world expects you to be. It starts with a radical shift, seeing solitude not as a punishment, but as a sanctuary. Your mind, like a lighthouse, shines brightest when the waves of social noise recede. In that quiet, you find space to think, to question, to create. You stop playing the role of the agreeable friend or the chatty colleague. and start listening to the voice within, the one that knows what you truly value, what you truly want. Take James, a 42-year-old professor who spent years exhausting himself at faculty events, nodding through small talk while his mind screamed for meaning. One day, he stopped. He canceled plans, turned off his phone, and spent a weekend alone, sketching ideas for a book he'd always wanted to write. In that silence, he found clarity. The conversations he'd been chasing weren't connection, they were performance. By stepping away, he didn't lose relationships. He found himself. He started seeking out people who valued his depth, colleagues who debated ideas, friends who asked big questions. His solitude wasn't isolation, it was liberation. Jung's concept of active imagination offers a clue here. In solitude, your mind becomes a canvas, free to explore ideas, dreams, and truths that the world's noise drowns out. This isn't about cutting yourself off, it's about choosing quality over quantity. You learn to say no to shallow interactions that drain you, and yes to connections that spark growth. It's a rebellion against the collective script, the one that says you must always be on, always available. Instead, you set boundaries, guarding your mental energy like a treasure. This rebellion isn't easy. The world will push back, calling you aloof or selfish. Friends may drift away. Colleagues may misunderstand. But here's the counterintuitive truth. By embracing your solitude, you open the door to relationships that matter. You attract people who see you, not their projection of you. You build a life aligned with your truth, not society's expectations. Jung himself lived this, retreating to his tower by the lake to wrestle with his unconscious, emerging with insights that change psychology forever. So, what's stopping you from claiming this freedom? What would happen if you dared to let your true self lead? The answer lies in one final, transformative truth. What if the solitude you've been running from is the key to becoming who you were always meant to be? You felt it, that quiet ache when the world's noise fades, and you're left with just your thoughts. It's not loneliness, it's a calling. The smartest minds don't choose solitude to escape life. They choose it to live it fully, to carve out a space where their true self can breathe. This is the ultimate truth. Solitude isn't your prison. It's your sanctuary. The path to a life so authentic, it redefines everything you thought you knew. Carl Jung called this journey individuation, the process of becoming whole, not by blending into the crowd, but by daring to stand apart. In solitude, your mind becomes an oasis, a place where you can sift through the chaos of expectations and find your own voice. It's where you stop being what others need and start being who you are. This isn't about cutting people off. It's about building a foundation so strong that every connection you choose to make is real, deep, and true. But here's the revelation that changes everything. The more you embrace your solitude, the more you connect with the world, not the world's noise, but its soul. Think of Lisa, a 27-year-old artist who felt suffocated by social demands. At parties, she'd smile through shallow chatter, but inside, she was drowning. One day, she chose herself. She spent months alone in her studio, painting, journaling, wrestling with her thoughts. In that silence, she found her art raw, honest, alive. When she shared it, people didn't just see her work, they saw her. Her solitude didn't isolate her. It connected her to others in a way small talk never could. Like Jung, who retreated to his tower to confront his inner world, Lisa discovered that solitude is where you meet your truest self. This truth flips everything upside down. The world tells you connection is constant chatter, endless likes, packed schedules. But the intelligent mind knows better. True connection starts within. By honoring your need for solitude, you protect your mental clarity, your creativity, your strength. You stop scattering your energy on relationships that drain you and invest it in those that light you up. It's a radical act of self-love, a rebellion against a world that demands you shrink to fit. So, why do you keep running from the silence? What could you discover if you leaned into it instead? This is your invitation. Take one evening, 1 hour, to sit with yourself. No phone, no noise, just you. Listen to the thoughts you've been ignoring. Feel the truths you've buried. In that stillness, you'll find what Jung called the treasure in the depths, your authentic self, waiting to be claimed. Subscribe to the Philreal channel to dive deeper into the psychology of self-discovery. And let's keep exploring what it means to live boldly, authentically, you. So, tell me, what does solitude mean to you? Is it a struggle, a sanctuary, or something else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's start a conversation.